Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Angelo. I'm the Applied Experiential Learning Specialist. I'm the Experiential Learning and Certification Specialist at AEL, and it's my pleasure to welcome our participants and colleagues from the College of Computing and Information Technology, as well as our colleagues from the College of Engineering and Technology. Please note that this session is actually being concurrently delivered across all 6 colleges by 2 other colleagues also coming from AEL. So I'd like to welcome you to today's session on setting up your D2L gradebook. And I'd like to very quickly go to perhaps a short introduction of why we are going through the D2L gradebook now and giving it such a focus. So 3 key points. First is that PeopleSoft will no longer be used to encode your grades and marks. So previously, what you do is in the end, you key in all your marks via PeopleSoft. So in this coming semester, that will no longer be possible, and you will no longer be able to encode your marks inside PeopleSoft. What will happen is our colleagues from the IT Directorate will enable a connection in between PeopleSoft and D2L so that PeopleSoft will automatically pull the grades and the grade structure from our D2L gradebooks. Okay, so far? And the third point is that's why we have a renewed focus on making sure that our gradebooks need to be reviewed, and they need to equate to 100%, because right now, we've got cases where sometimes the gradebooks are set to less than 100, or in some cases, the gradebook equates to more than 100%. So that's why we need to review and make sure that our gradebooks are now in good order, so that when PeopleSoft pulls these marks, they are correct in terms of the weights. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through 2 different scenarios. One is that you either have some or all of your grade items in D2L. And so we'll try to walk you through some of the considerations or suggestions you might want to consider when setting up and checking your gradebook. The second scenario that we have is if your course is being delivered primarily via paper-based exams or some other method, then you have no grade items on D2L. So we'll also set it up in such a way that, okay, given that, how do you set up your gradebook inside D2L? All right, so we'll walk you through those 2 different scenarios, and hopefully that helps to clarify most of your questions regarding how to set up your gradebook properly in D2L. Okay, so far? So before I go into fixing the gradebook, first is we'll go and access your D2L gradebook. Let me switch over to my browser, and I will go to D2L. So first off, before we go to accessing the gradebook, I need to show you that everything that I will cover today is actually available on the homepage of D2L under the D2L gradebook link. So if you click there, all the steps that I will discuss just now is also covered here. So you can actually go review all these steps by clicking on the link on the D2L homepage. Okay, let me put that aside. This, and then now what I will do is go into a sandbox course so that I can walk you through the process. Okay, so first off, I'm using a shell from one of our colleagues in engineering, Prof. Soliman, from his course, AEAC 2113. That's because his course is one of those few courses that does gradebook properly. So what I'll do is, first off, we need to be able to access our gradebook. So if you're looking at D2L in terms of gradebook for the first time, you'll find that via assessments and grades. And then to be able to view that, you'll need to go to Manage Grades. And you should see, if you have any grade items that are in D2L, then you should see them over here. So in this case, in this course, there's a grade item called Test, 2 midterm grade items, several quizzes, several items with the WS, maybe worksheets, and 2 assignments. And you'll notice that there's no final exam over here. Okay, so first step, let's review what you're gonna do. So we're in scenario 1, on the assumption that we have somewhere all your grade items in D2L. We'll go through 3 key steps. So first is we'll set up D2L gradebook categories. Next is, given that we have our category set up, the gradebook items that you already have there, we will assign them to those categories. And if you have non-D2L gradebook items, we will do the same. We will assign to the gradebook categories. And then third step is we will check your D2L gradebook. So again, let's go through that again. We'll set up categories. And then the existing grade items that you have, if they are in place in the gradebook, we will assign them to those categories. Whether they are D2L gradebook items or non-D2L grade items, we will assign them to the categories. And lastly, we will check that and make sure that your D2L gradebook equates to 100. Okay, so first step, we are here in the gradebook. The first step is we will set up our categories. So under new, you've got the option for item and categories. So most of the things here are items. What we need to set up now are categories. So I will set up a category for test. So you had an item there earlier for test. The weight for test is maybe 5%. And then I'll distribute weight evenly across all items. All right. So this is not a common way to do this, but this is what we are thinking of in terms of best practice. We'll discuss this a little bit more later on. So I've assigned the weight of 5, meaning overall, over the entire course, this is worth 5%. And then again, I've selected distribute weight evenly across all items. And then I'll save and close. And then, so we see that that category has been added here at the bottom. And then I'll go to new again, set up the category. I'll set up the second category for midterm.
Hello, Angelo.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
sorry, actually, there was a conflict between 2 meetings, and we were unable to catch the beginning. Is it possible, if there is no problem, can you just, please summarize? Just to enter, yeah, sorry about this, but there was just a conflict, so we couldn't enter on time. Sorry.
Sure, not a problem. So let me very quickly
Thank you.
go through it again.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry.
So first is the reason why we are having to review the gradebook now, the D2L gradebook in particular, is because of 3 key points. First is that PeopleSoft will no longer be available to encode your grades, meaning moving forward, you are not encoding your grades directly in PeopleSoft. That's not going to happen moving forward. That's because our colleagues from the IT Directorate will enable a connection between PeopleSoft and D2L, such that PeopleSoft will automatically pull your grades and the grade structure from the D2L gradebook. So from PeopleSoft, it will pull, and it will pull from your D2L course shells, and your grades and your gradebook structure will be pulled into PeopleSoft. Okay, so to the third point, that is why we now need to check our gradebooks, make sure that we review them properly, and make sure that they are equal to 100%. We cannot be below 100%, and we cannot be over 100%. So that's why we are now having concurrent sessions, concurrent webinars, where all 6 colleges now are being trained on how to review and manage the gradebook. Okay, so we're not walking through 2 scenarios. The first one is the one I was going through just now, where you have some gradebook items or all of your gradebook items on D2L, and then we're just basically reviewing that and making sure that your gradebook is okay. And second one is maybe you haven't even started with any grade items on D2L, or maybe you will order all of your assessments are done on paper-based, so you don't do it outside of D2L. How do you now encode those grades inside D2L? Okay, so to access your gradebook, we said you need to be inside your course, so which is here, and you'd access the gradebook by going to assessments and grades. And once you do that, you need to go to manage grades, and then you'll see all of your gradebook items. Okay, and then what we are doing now, just before we had to restart, was we are going through a 3-step process to fix our gradebooks. One is setting up our D2L gradebook categories. You might not be familiar with categories, but I'll go into that later. And then once we set up the categories, we will now assign our gradebook items to that category. So gradebook items are normally, if you have any D2L assessments that are already in place, we just assign them to those categories. And lastly, we check our D2L gradebook. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll go here. I was done with setting up the test category and the midterm category. Okay, so test category is 5% and the midterm category is 30%. Okay, so far? Okay. So that's the reason why I'm building those categories is we have a test item over here. We have a midterm set of items over here. So I will now build the third category, which is for quizzes. So I'll click on new and category and put in quizzes. Say quizzes are worth 10%. The important thing is to make sure that the distribution is set to distribute weight evenly across all items, and then save and close. So now we've done with quizzes. We'll make a new category again for WS. Weighting is 15%. And then I will distribute weight evenly across all items and save and close. And then assignment, I'm making a new category for assignment. I will set this to 10%. Okay, and distribute weight evenly across all items. And so what you'll see just now is we have test, which is worth 5%, midterm, which is worth 30%, quizzes, which are worth 10%, WS, which are worth 15%, and assignments worth 10%. So that's 35, 45, 50, 60, 70, 70%. Okay, so anything missing? Dear instructors, anything missing here? I'm missing 30%. What do you think that is?
It's final exam.
Final exam. Okay, so final exam, I don't have it as a D2L assessment. We'll do it paper-based, but I will put in the category here because that means it is a non-D2L activity, but I still need to include it as part of the final calculated grade, okay? So I'll set it up, new category, finals. Exam. And the weight is 30%. 30. Okay. So now, if I add that up, test is 5, midterm is 30, 35, quizzes is 10, so that's 45, WS is 15, so that's 60, plus assignments 10, that's 70, and final exam is 30, so that's a total of 100. So why are we now still having 205? Okay, let's relax. So we're done with our first step, which is, we said, creating the categories. Second step is we need to distribute all the gradebook items that we have and distribute it to the categories. So how do we do that? So this test category, I will take this test grade item, edit it, And what I'll do now is under category, I will select the category that it equates to. So in this case, it's test. I'll select that. I just scroll down. I don't need to touch anything here in terms of points. Just leave that be. I'll save and close. Okay, I need you to check now. So test is worth 5%. And the grade item underneath that is 100 points and 100% of weight. Okay, you're gonna have a lot of questions why this is 100%. Let me go through quizzes first, and then I need you to try and observe what's happening. Okay, so I'll work on quizzes first. So quiz 1, I will also assign to the category. Save and close and observe. Now, this is worth 10%, quiz category is worth 10%, but the first quiz that I've assigned here is now worth 100. Take a look at what happens when we go through quiz 2 and we assign it to the same category. So now quiz 2, from 100 a while ago, it's now 50-50. I'll put in the third quiz, and I need you to understand, I need to check, do you see the pattern of why it is doing that? Okay, so now I've added all 3 quizzes, and from this a while ago when it was alone was 100. When it became 2, it became 50. When it became 3, it became 33.3. I need help here. What's going on?
It's distributed evenly over all quizzes.
Yes, sir. So there's 2 main rules that we need to follow to make sure our grade books are perfect. First is when we put in all our categories in place, they need to equal to 100%. Okay, so a while ago we said, okay, we computed it's equal to 100%, but it had all those grade items, so it became confusing. Next is we are distributing the gradebook items to the categories. We're assigning it to the categories. So you'll notice that when we add up together the percentages of all those grade items, they equal to 100% of this, of the category. Does that make sense? Guys? Does that make sense? So basically, if I had 1, if I only had 1, then it would be 100. If I had 2, it'll become 50. If I had 3, it'll be 33.3. And if I had 4, I'd have some help.
25.
Fantastic. So, so those 2 rules. First, categories must equal to, categories altogether must equal to 100. And then the items under a category must also equate to 100. Okay? So I'm going to continue doing that. Let me now assign the midterm. And I need you to observe the midterm. The weights are different. You see? That means part 1 is somehow twice as heavy as part 2. Okay? So because of this, I'll need to slightly modify this. Okay? So I'll assign this to the midterm first, knowing that the first one is should be twice as heavy as the second one. So, okay. So we'll see that actually what it's done is it's given it equal weight. Okay. So the reason why we're setting it to equal weights actually is after reviewing 2,400 course offerings over this semester, and in the previous semester, we found that one of the causes of why the gradebook goes reading becomes really messy and creates errors is because even if you have the perfect gradebook set up already in the master shell, if a teacher goes in and adds something new in terms of assessment, that can be a new assignment, a new quiz, then all of the numbers don't add up to 100. By setting up the category, That means if I have a new quiz and I assign it to the quiz category, it just reassigns all the weights. So it still adds up to 100. So this is why we're suggesting that you consider setting up the categories. So that way, even if you add a bit more in terms of the assignments or quizzes or whichever, it automatically adjusts the weights of those grade items compared to that category. Okay, so going back to midterms, if this is not allowed, and what we want is this is still twice as much as this. Okay, divide it by 3 then. What should this total and this total if it's 100 and the other one is twice as much? So first, I'll edit the midterm, and I'll set it to manually assign weights to that category, because now this is a setup where I want to specify in itself and not really follow these weights. So if it needs to be twice as much, what do I need to put as a weight for midterm 1? If it's divisible by 3, 1/3. In this case, this is twice as much, so that'll be 66.66. Okay. I'll save and close. And then the next one should be what? It should be 33.333. Okay, so we always need to make sure that inside a category, okay, so it's not actually even allowing me, it needs to be 100%. So let me toggle this, and I'll change that to maybe 4. Change one to the last digit and set that to 4. Let's see if that makes sense. And then we'll see, okay, so that's taken out the error message a while ago. So again, even the items that are underneath the category, they need to be equal to 100%. And then I'll distribute the rest of this, which is WS and assignments, and it should be done. Quickly do that. And then the final one is assignments. Assignment 2. Let's check. So right now, this is actually equal to 100. And the sub items over here, the items under each category, all equal 100, except for what? Finals. I don't have anything under finals, so I can't have that, because then this would be 0 points. So what I'll do then is I'll probably have a paper-based exam. So I'll need to set up a new item. Still call it final exam. That can be 100 points. Let's go finals, and it's worth 100 points. We don't put in the weight, and save and close. Okay, so what does that look like now? So our weights all add up to 100. The items under each weight, so test is 100%. Under midterms is 66.6 plus 33.334, that's 100. Quizzes is three sets of 33.33, that equals to 100. Under WS are 2 items, and that's 50 and 50. Assignments is 50 and 50. And final exam, because there's only one final exam, is worth 100% of 30. Okay, so now our total weight, which is here on the right, is 100. And the total of all the points for all our assessments is 1,100. The points is inconsequential. It doesn't matter. That can be 2,000, that can be 3,000, doesn't matter. But the weight should be equal to 100. Okay, I'm gonna pause there for now and ask if you have any questions. Any questions? So the reason why we are setting up those categories is, let's say you've set up without categories, and then somebody includes a new item, which can be a new quiz or a new assignment. That totally messes up the way your weights will add up, and you'll either need to subtract from another item to make sure that it tallies up properly. But because you've set up the categories through this training, what will happen is if there's any new assignment, for example, there's another assignment. Just put new. I will assign this to assignment, or maybe not even. I'm not going to put it as an assignment first. I'm going to save and close. So you'll see that the total is now 110, because anytime, let's say a new teacher there, or maybe an old teacher, but then I want to just put up a new assignment. But because we have categories, what I'll need to just do is go there under that drop-down list, click on edit. I just assign it to a category. And because of that, my total goes back to 100. And then it just redistributes the weight of those grade items automatically. Okay? Does that work for you? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, Angelo.
Yes.
So my question is regarding the maximum points. I saw you are using 100, but we can choose something else. For example, I saw in one of the courses where I shared the grades, it puts as 10 per lab. So I think this is mean the maximum that we can get 10 out of 10. So this is not like what I mean. We can adjust that as per the
no problem,
item.
sir. Points is not a problem at all, sir. We are more concerned about the weight. So your points can be 20, 30. It's just in this case, this person is using 100. Also, one of the suggestions of some of our colleagues from Gen Ed was to set the points to 100. So for example, let's say my total points is actually, let's say I've got 10 items in there. What will happen is when I set it to 100, and let's say I get 9 points out of 10, it will set it to 90 over 100. So they're just basically saying it's easier to communicate it as a basis of from the viewpoint of how did I score in terms of 100. So that was their suggestion. You can also do it from the viewpoint of, okay, I just want to show 30 points. Okay, 20 points. Okay, the points is not a problem, sir. You can go, yes.
Yeah, thank you. My other question, is there a way to do rounding? For example, if you see those based on assignment one weight is the 33.33. So when it maybe appears in the grade book, so it might be like a long number as well. So is there a way to do rounding in the grade books?
The rounding in itself, sir, if you set it to equal weights, it will compute by itself. So if you take a look at the assignments under edit, sir, if it's set to distribute evenly across all items, it just computes that for you. Once you assign the grade item to the category, it is computing this for you. So you don't even have to manage the rounding off portion. Yes, sir.
Sure. Thanks, Angelo.
Fantastic questions. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before I go to the second scenario where you haven't had any kind of assessments at all inside D2L? I wanted to, so before, if nobody has a question, I will ask you a question now. Okay, so we have a situation where we said our final exam is paper-based. So this is not connected to a quiz at all. So how will I now input my scores for final exam? Can anyone share? So we've made a grade item over here, but it's not connected to an actual quiz for the final exam. So because it's paper-based, you're gonna have to what?
Yeah. Like answering your question, and I think there's something called intergrade, so possibly we can use this.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you so much. So
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
under assessments and grades, there's an option here for enter grades. So if you click on enter grades and switch to spreadsheet view, okay, you'll find that for the final exam, I slide here to the end. So under final exam, you will have options here to encode the grades for each student. Okay, because it's a paper exam, there's no going around. But if it's allowed in your college to do a D2L exam, then you're in luck, because then this automatically populates once they answer, and if it's just objective type questions, then this should auto-populate by itself. Okay. Any other questions before we go on to the second scenario, please?
Quick question. So in my case, it's a completely new course, so there are no previous assignments.
Yes, sir.
So it's like I'm creating the master shell. So is it the same steps? Like I just create those categories and...
Oh, fantastic question, sir, because that is leading up to our second scenario. Our second scenario is a situation where we have no grade items at all on D2L, meaning it's either no master shell or all of our stuff has been paper-based like this. Okay, so that leads up to our second scenario. So if there's no other questions, I'll go to our second scenario. I'll switch over to a new shell because I need something that has totally nothing on it. Okay, so this one has nothing on it. So I have no content and I have no grades. So this is what our colleague is getting into. So in a situation where you have nothing at all, then this is what you end up with, okay? So again, this is the second scenario with no grade items, but we will go through similar 3 steps. Again, set up the D2L gradebook categories. Second, because we don't have any grade items that are there, we need to create the grade item and assign it to the category. Does that make sense? Because there's nothing to assign this yet, we create and then assign. So second step. And third step is we again check our D2L gradebook. Okay, so let me do that now. So first, what would be useful when you're doing this and you're starting from scratch basically, is you check your syllabus first, because the syllabus is your compass on figuring out what the percentages are. So in this case, let me set up the categories. Let's say the assignments are worth 20%. So it's fairly easy. You take a look at your syllabus, you're fine. So 20% is the weight. Again, what I want to do is distribute the weight evenly across all items. This allows us to this allows the system to basically readjust all of your internal weights of the items if you add new items to that category. And then save and close. So I've got assignments now with 20% weight. I will now click the category and set another one. I'll set quizzes. And I will set up 20%. And then again, I will make sure that I distribute weight evenly across all items and save and close. Okay, assignments and quizzes. And then I will set up a midterm, which is worth 30%. Distribute weight evenly across all items and save and close. And lastly, I have a finals. Again, I will have 30% and distribute weight evenly and save and close. So first step done, we have put in the categories and the weights. So first check is our total weight, our final calculated grade. Is it equal to 100%? Absolutely. So categories wise, this is perfect. Okay, what we need to do now is, do we have grade items to assign? Okay, in this sense, in this particular case, where we have either paper-based exams or you're starting from a fresh shell, you have nothing. So you can have placeholders there. So which means you need to encode the grades later on. So I can click on new, and then I can click on item. And then I will set up I'll select numeric. And I will set assignment 1. Okay, if you want a short name, meaning under the category of assignments, if you don't want to have such long names, assignment 1, you can actually shorten that to A1 if you wanted to. I'll show you what that looks like later on. So I'll select assignments, and then points can be 10, it doesn't matter. I'll save and close. So what that looks like right now is this. It's 100% again, because it's the first item there, and the full weight of the category is on this grade item, so it's set to 100. Let me just show you what that looks like from an enter grades perspective, because that's where the A1 kicks in. Okay, so if I switch to spreadsheet view, okay, so whatever you call it in terms of a short name, that's what it'll have as a column. So instead of assignment 1, which is a long one, if you want a shorter one like this, you can do that. If you don't want, okay, you can skip that portion. Okay, so I'll continue with my managed grades. I will put in another item and put in assignment 2. And assign it to assignments. So now we'll see that it's split to 50. And I'll probably put in one more assignment. Wanted to put in an assignment name. Set it to the correct category of assignments. Let me just go back to assignment 2 and give it a short name too. Because this is one of those ways to organize it actually. So we've got the assignment category, and now we've got 3 grade items under it. And we can see that the weights have adjusted accordingly. What I'll do now is a similar approach to quizzes. I'll make 3 quizzes. Okay. This one. Set it to quiz. Okay, I'll make a second one. So that you can just see what that looks like. It's 2. Close. Okay, so now we've got the categories in place, and we've got the grade items in place, and we can see that the weights have adjusted accordingly. So now I just need to put in grade items for the midterms and finals. Let me do that. Midterm. Let's call this CET. And then I'll assign it to the midterm. Save and close. And I'll do one for the final. So I'll see the midterm is here set to 100. And I'll do one for the final. And I'll do final 30%, assign it to that category, and then save. Okay, so that means these are all placeholders. And then if we go back to enter grades, if you are doing all of those things paper-based, you can now encode the grades specific to those things the way you would probably encode in PeopleSoft. Okay, but I need you to also understand that if somehow within the term you realize, look, actually, my assignment 1, instead of, let's say, your quiz 1, instead of me making a paper-based quiz, let's say somewhere along the way in the semester, you decide, actually, I'm going to convert that into a D2L quiz so that I don't have to manually check that. If it's allowed to do an objective type test for that, then you've got the option to connect D2L grade item to whatever it is that you've set up over here. So right now, these are grade items with no connection at all to D2L assessment. Okay, so let's see what happens next if somehow along the way you decide, oh, I want to do a D2L assessment and connect it there. So what I'll do is I'll make a quiz, D2L quiz, and connect it to quiz 1. Okay, so let's say I have a quiz. I'll make a new quiz. Okay, I'll call this topic 1. And then I will I'll just make a new question. And then, so I have no questions in place right now. So I will put in one. What is the color of the sky? It's gonna go blue. Example. And let's say that's correct answer. Red. Okay, so I'll click on save. And let's say that's our quiz, for example. So if we decide that, let's say these are 10 questions, 20 questions, whatever, that's fine. I'm gonna go, currently this is not in Gradebook. What I'm gonna want to do is I'll edit or link to existing. Okay, and then what I'll do now is I'll choose the grade category, which is what? Quizzes. And then, sorry, grade, sorry, it's linked to an existing grade item. I'm so sorry. So I'll select link to an existing grade item. And under that, I want to link it to quiz 1. Okay. And when that happens, I click on OK. So now it's linked to that gradebook item, and I'll just save and close. So what happens now is if somebody takes a quiz, let's say I'm going to impersonate I'm going to make that visible first. Okay. And then let's say a student comes in, say student 16, takes that quiz. Okay, I will start the quiz. And let's say I get that correct. And let's impersonate another one and make sure that they don't get it correct this time. So we're testing what it's doing to the gradebook, yeah? So here, I'll make a mistake. And now we should see what happens in the gradebook. So I will stop impersonating, and I will go now to our gradebook. And if you see, under quizzes, let's see, I'll need to switch to standard view. I think I published the grade. Okay. I made a mistake in the quiz. Let me just publish the grades. Right now, it's not publishing at all. So under evaluation and feedback, what I want to enable is synchronize the gradebook. What's happening is it's not publishing it to the synchronizing the publishing of that mark to the gradebook. So let me just click there and click on save and close. So this should work now. So as you can see, for our first student, I didn't have to manually key it in once we connected that quiz later on to the grade item that we set up initially. If you change your mind somewhere in the middle, we can connect that. That's not a problem. So you can see that for this student, we got 100 and the other one got 0. Okay. So final check, if we again look at managed grades, the final check is we must make sure that all our categories, assignments, quizzes, all our categories must add up to 100, which is what we see here. And then the items under each category must add up to 100. In this case, 33 times 33.333 adds up to 100. For these two items, 50 and 50 will add up to 100. Because midterm is a sole item, it adds up to 100. And finals, because it's a single item, adds up to 100. So we can see, again, to check, we need to see that the final calculated grade is equal to 100. And again, the sub-items, the grade items under each category must be equal to 100. So that allows us, that ensures us that our gradebook is now properly done and ready for pulling by PeopleSoft. Okay, so in summary, what we just went through so far in this webinar, we showed how you can access the D2L gradebook. So we said we need to go through assessments and grades. Okay, so we went through that. We then had a 3-step process to make sure that our gradebooks are set up properly. Set up the categories, assign gradebook items to categories, and then check our D2L gradebook. Even in a second situation where we are starting the gradebook from scratch with either paper-based tests or we have nothing on the master shell, it is the same process. We set up the categories. We have to tweak a little bit because there's nothing to assign it. We create and then assign the gradebook items to the categories. And again, we check the D2L gradebook. Okay, so in case you still need help, before we go to need help, I need to point the resource again. So what I covered just now on how to set up your gradebook, you can find that material exactly here at the start of your D2L homepage. It is under D2L gradebook. If you click there, it will be a series of videos that lead you through introduction, accessing the gradebook, setting up the D2L categories, exactly the same process that we went through. Okay, but if after going through that video and you've gone and done your thing inside your course, if you still need help with your D2L gradebook, please reach out and email me, and I will assist you as best I can. Preferably, if you come with a computer or I go to your office, you have your computer set up there, then that'll help to facilitate making sure that we can assist you with your gradebook. And final thing, because we are closing now. First is, do you have any questions about anything that we covered today? Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Angelo. I posted a screenshot on the chat. So I imported one course. I don't see the weight column totally. So it looks maybe the setting was just based on giving a max point. So when I go to the gradebook, I just see max points, and even the total max points goes 400 something. I try to edit one category, for example, labs, but I don't see even how to put the category, for example, 10%. And I think under the show, some options are deactivated. Like if it takes long, maybe I can visit you in office.
Sure, sir.
If it is something on the fly.
What we need to check first is, are you in a master shell or a course shell? And then in that course shell, are you a guest instructor or an instructor? If you're an instructor, you should be able to tweak those things around. If you are a guest instructor, you should not be able to tweak those things around. So it's best, sir, if you come over, I will assist you. It's not a problem. Yes, sir.
Sure.
It's a good question. You know why? So this thing about we've got 3 states of how we see this problem with the gradebook. The solution aspect is if you have 100. The problematic arrangement, the problematic states are below 100 and above 100. So in the above 100, sir, like you said, it's either the assigning of the grade items. You see 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Now it's worth 270. That is one set of errors, sir. The second error, sir, is sometimes, let's say you're importing content from the master shell and you import it 2 times. So even if the master shell is worth 100%, you import 2 times, it becomes 200. Like this.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's
exactly.
many traces of how that error comes about. It's not a problem, sir. We come over, we will assist you. Not a problem.
Sure, perfect. Thank you. I'll visit you in office. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? I'll need to ask a favor because it's hard to track attendance via when we are in Teams as compared to Zoom. So the way we are tracking attendance, please, I need your help. If you can please scan the workshop evaluation QR code. It does not matter what you rate us with. What matters, sir, is we capture that you submitted the form. So then we can mark you as attended to with this webinar. All right, if you can please spend a minute or two with that workshop evaluation. I think it's called Mastering Your D2L Gradebook. Should be the first option there.
Yeah, quick question. So sometimes we have several sections in the same course. So should this be done on the D2L of each section?
Yes,
Or
sir.
Even though
Because
it's the same assignments and so on.
okay, so several considerations. If in those sections nothing has been done yet in terms of assessments, meaning the students never submit anything, then what we can do is you set up in one, then we will copy that across your sections. But it is entirely possible that you've already done something in terms of assessments, like in one section or the other, and that would mean we can't overwrite these things, because if we did, then they need to resubmit somehow. So in those cases, we need to replicate the gradebooks across all those sections, sir.
So let me give you an example. I have a course, it's a new course.
Mhm.
And then there are two D2Ls. They consider them section 1 and 2, but they are exactly the same people, just because one is lecture, the other one is lab. But it's the same students, right? Should I do this twice for each?
Okay. The lab and lecture is it is a complicated animal. Let me explain, sir. So in PeopleSoft, I think the way that is set up is it's actually two distinct course shells and inside PeopleSoft. So that will be a lecture and a lab. So because it is defined in two ways in PeopleSoft, it is also defined in two ways in D2L. But it is my understanding that if this was done in PeopleSoft, the lab component should automatically add up to the lecture component. So this does not happen automatically in D2L. So we need to understand like the proper percentages so that we can pull them across each one. But the safest way to do this, sir, is the two components should be equal to 100%. That way, let's say the lecture is worth 60% and the lab is worth 40%, for example. Yes, but that's 40%, but I need 100% of 40%, if that makes sense.
What I'm saying is not the lecture is an assignment and lab another assignment. What I'm saying is that there are two D2L pages. They are called 1 and 2, like if I had two sections. But no, it's actually one set of students attending both.
Yes. So I think the lecture and lab component will need more attention. The only reason why I'm saying this is, you see, when we raise this with IT, what they're sure of is they'll pull from those two places and park it in the same two places in PeopleSoft. But how it reacts once it lands in PeopleSoft is a question so far. So what I'm saying is, by having those two things as both 100% in their own capacity, when we pull over, it gives us some maneuver in terms of what else we can do with it if it does not automatically load up as before. What would have happened before is whatever scores that you had if you keyed it into PeopleSoft in the lab component, it will add up to the lecture component. That will not happen in D2L. So we need to understand what happens when they pull over to PeopleSoft. Right now, sir, I don't have an answer. They don't have an answer to. They're gonna find out as soon as they finish setting it up.
Because the easiest for me is just to use one of those two D2L pages and that's it. Forget totally about the others because same students access both. So why having to?
Let me walk you through the possible scenario of what happens when we pull over to PeopleSoft. So if we do it the way that you described just now, what happens then is for one course, you pull the complete marks for one. And on the second course, it'll be blank for the other one in PeopleSoft for the second one. Now, if it behaves the same way as before and it loads up the other one the same way as before, then I'm not sure if that's going to end up as a different score or what. I'm not entirely sure. So that might come off as a weird average or something like that because your first mark is X and then you're putting in a 0 for the second one. We're still not sure how that system in terms of PeopleSoft, once it pulls your scores, what it will do. Does it do the same add up as before or not? I have no answer yet because they need to actually run it before we get a more conclusive answer. They haven't run it in the live one yet, in the production.
Okay.
But their assurance is by midterms, they said this would be up by midterms.
All right. Thank you.
That's the commitment from their side, sir. So we'll need to stand by and wait for what other instructions they have before midterms. Any other questions? So I just want to repeat again, please finish the workshop evaluation for attendance purposes, please. The scores that you give us don't matter so much. What matters is we need to record your attendance.
Just one thing, Mr. Angelo.
Yes, sir.
This workshop is meant to for the new faculty members, is that right? Who are joining the university? No?
Not necessarily just new. It's new and old, sir, because everybody needs to fix their gradebooks because in this situation, sir, we will not be encoding through PeopleSoft anymore. PeopleSoft will pull automatically from our D2L course shells. So
no, I'm asking this question because I didn't get the notification of this workshop.
So the notifications, sir, were sent through your HODs. So the HODs were directed to send the email message to their respective faculties, sir.
Oh, I didn't get it. We were in another workshop.
I apologize, sir. I was also told that another department had a department meeting. So, but then there's another workshop coming up on Wednesday, same time. And then we've also told your HODs that if for some other reason you still cannot make it and they can decide which date they are more available in, we will be more than happy to oblige them on that date. We will do for your individual department. We just need a date and a time, sir. We will do it for you.
Okay, thank you. No, I've attended. It's fine. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, with that, let me see. I've gone to the last part of my presentation. I'd like to thank everyone for their patience. Thank you for your support and helping us make sure that all our gradebooks are set up properly for our students. Thank you very much and have a pleasant afternoon ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Angelo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.